2 full hours. This is how long the Formula 1 Singapore Grand Prix lasted. And this is how long it was. ER races with qualifying are around hour and 10 minutes. But that's definitely better entertainment. That's at least something I can agree on. Don't know about you. However, with only 15 drivers at the grid today, because Singapore Grand Prix, I go out, I go something. Well, a couple of cases like that happen, and this is why we will be having only 15 drivers on the grid today. However, we've got someone special around here, like a reserve driver who can race only a couple of times. His name is Cameron Dowds. His dad is already in the chat, so hello. And Cameron is back into Ero racing. Maybe for just one occasion, but it's enough for him maybe to get 25 points in the championship and mix the championship fight between Richie and Curtin a lot. We'll see today how it goes. Naturally, the first question of the day is how many drivers have forgotten to put the numbers in. Could have been 18, but for example, Joe Fegali's the F2 reserve connection is gone, so unfortunately he cannot race today. About the rest of the drivers, well, this grid is stacked. This is what everyone says. So my name is Wojciech Śmigowski. I'm the owner and PC F1 commentator of European Racing Organization, the best league in entire F1 league scene, league racing scene. Thank you for questioning it, but you're not right. Apart from that, hello, welcome to the Italian Grand Prix. 15 drivers on the grid. Now, this is the question that we are going to ask ourselves like a lot of times. Because as far as I'm aware, my F1 TV HUD, I don't know what's the full name of that, but it should be working. So we'll be checking right now how many drivers forgot to put the numbers in. This definitely needs refreshing though, so we'll wait a couple of minutes. We are still having the default telemetry data around here, but we should have the proper one soon. Also, speaking of which, we've got every single track map around here. Maybe I'll just wait for it to load in, and we are on track. At Monza at the moment, the iconic place of entire Ero history. Well, we've seen plenty of action. Not to name Season 1, the troubles of Juan Olarte, who had to make a recovery drive and go all the way from the back of the grid to P7. Then we've got Season 2, Jolty, Luke Schultes, and Jesper Mugg's fight. That was a title fight between these three drivers. In Italy, they were very close to each other until Juanita, so the nickname of that driver, has spun round, crashed Jordi out, who had to change the front wing. As far as I'm aware, he's got a couple of points, but that's the most he could get. Next, we've got Season 3. We are, of course, speaking about PSF1 because PC wasn't a thing back then. We've got a carnage on the restart, on the safety car restart, and a 4-wide finish. Like that race was something else. I've actually done a meme recap. It should have got separate highlight videos because it was really something else. And only Polish podium in Ero F1 history, at least on PlayStation. Season 4, this is when PC went in. This was also the race which had most drivers on the grid, which was 18 back then. I'm not sure who has won that one. Definitely can name that Kieran Purnell's tire has gone on the final laps, and Luke Schultes took the win and stopped Maxim Rodriguez's 9 victories streak. Season 5, Kim Hodgson and Julian Berensen having a clash in turn 1 on the final lap, and that lost Kim the win. Not sure who won, but I know that in Season 5 and PSF1, 12 different drivers have won the race. Season 6, Drake Viguil, that's simple as that, the entire race, the final lap overtake. I've just dubbed it into the commentary of the final lap in Abu Dhabi because it deserved it. Well, that race was something else. Season 7, last race of the season. Well, speaking of PC, Season 6, it was Znamirovski going out upside down. And in Season 7, we've got Carnage in PCF2. But speaking of PSF1, back then the main Ero tier. Now it's kinda equal at this point, despite PC allowing line and PS not. Can say that, well, Diogo Moraes took the title on the final race because Cameron wasn't racing. Cameron at the moment is third, 19.6. Leading this qualifying is Tom Moyer with 19.415, 15 milliseconds ahead of Evan Curtin, who is no longer the championship leader. The championship leader now is Tony Ricci by 5 points. And the reason for that is Evan Curtin's 10-second time penalty for reset to track and 5 more seconds for collision with Tony Ricci. Why Tony Ricci? Tom Moyer, I meant, sorry. Now checking if this thing works. It does. How many drivers failed? Moyer, Curtin, Dowds, Mills, Mikkelsen, Burlini, Bilbas, Pawlakowicz, Robertson, Crocs, Harvey, Twovila, Ricci, Dugar, Heinen. Everything's alright. The last 5 places that are called empty, well, they do not count for one apparent reason. We'll just have 15 drivers on the grid today. Also, Karol Sashim is fired by Aston Martin due to 2 consecutive unreported absences. In formal way, I would call it a ban. Season ban for unreported absences. When it comes to roleplay elements I'm trying to implement into Ero, just in order to bring more likes on the social media, then it is called Aston Martin firing him for not appearing on the paddock. Who is going to be his successor? And actually not successor because he scored 0 points. But speaking of which, who is going to take the Aston Martin seat? We'll see soon. Because, well, we can name from other leagues that attendance and commitment has been an issue. I'm afraid the same thing might happen to Ero as well. I'm trying my best. Not my fault that driver standards in league racing in general, because you could see on all the way on Twitter, are not the best, are far from best. And I have to remain the impartial thought. Why not say direct opinions? However, I'm doing my best. I'm literally considering to sign up just to show the driving standards that I set in paddock announcement, I'll be honest with you. However, because we missed the qualifying and also you are heavily interrupted by having 2 HUDs at once, 2 broadcast packages, maybe let's bring the better one back, like fully. This was, I'll be honest with you, initially for PSF1, because I wanted to implement it to PSF1 so you don't have to watch Black Box fighting Axe, but you can watch King fight Lepenu, for example. But we stay with PSF1 because crossplay, PSF1 drivers don't want it, I kinda want it, but knowing what happened in Britain in that race, well, far from greatest. Far from greatest, actually, essentially bad and broken. However, let's go back to the action as Tony Ricci is starting his lap around Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, the fastest, probably the fastest track on the planet, at least for Formula 1 racing, in which you've got 2 chicanes, or actually 3 chicanes, and apart from that, you're essentially going 300 kilometers per hour. At the moment, most of the drivers are on outlaps. There's unfortunately a glitch in this broadcast package that you cannot see time of, for example, Tony Ricci when you're a selected driver. Wish that would be fixed. Maybe I will get in touch with its creator. So I'm far from good when it comes to programming. However, speaking of Tony, he's now going through 3rd sector. The Ascari chicane, it's 10 minutes to go in the qualifying. He is the championship leader now by 5 points over Evan Curtin, but I have to warn you about one thing. You will not see the championship standings today because we don't have formation lap, and the Gary Swallow plugin allows us only to see the championship standings during the formation lap. Tony Ricci though goes fastest and proves why he's a championship leader. 19.177, putting him on pole position. Maybe I'll just refresh a couple of interfaces as well because it needs to be done. There you go. Tony has now invalidated, but it doesn't really matter. Tom Maurer is currently nearly 3 tenths up. He also nearly exceeded the track limit and invalidated his lap time. Behind him, we've got Aryan Bilbas because Cameron Doubts is in Sector 2, as we've got green flag. So I assume there was some yellow flags in Sector 3, probably mainly due to letting other drivers pass. As Tom Maurer crosses the line, now he takes pole position, 17 milliseconds ahead of Tony Ricci. Now Irvin Curtin is about to cross the line. He's 78 milliseconds down in Sector 2 and goes to the pit, so probably he wasn't improving the lap. How about Cameron? Now this is the question. He was in Sector 2, now he's crossing the line in order to get 3rd place. To be honest, I'm surprised because I was expecting Cameron to fight at the top. But I was expecting him to win. Maybe it will come during the race. Also, you have to mention Mikkelsen's great performance at the moment, as he's 5th. Losing only 6 tenths to pole position. Speaking of Cameron, well, we may expect a win. I intentionally changed Tom Maurer or Aryan Bilbas. I'm not sure who's now 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. But he was definitely swapped with the 3rd place finisher. Aryan Bilbas has been replaced by Cameron, by the way, in the poll, which you can vote on in the chat. And speaking of the chat, thank you for the nice graphics. Well, I put some effort into it, to be honest, Maciek. You can also talk in the chat about the race, your expectations. Also, you can speak about the Singapore Grand Prix. My only spoiler regarding that will be that it lasted 2 full hours. I'm unfortunately not going to tell you who's won. But I can definitely say I'm not 100% satisfied with the result. So you might assume fire support. Meanwhile, one of the Ferraris is going to the pits. I assume that might be Bilbas. So, no, it's Cameron. Aryan is at least on track. And possibly is on a hot lap, because you can see he's using the ERS. We'll see what the delta after Sector 1. He's 2 tenths up. Which means he might be going for position number 7, something like this at the moment. Like, P5 is possible for everyone, to be honest. Top 4 is just far away from the rest. Even though Aryan, Quill may fight for the 3rd place of the championship, they actually got the potential for it. As Aryan's now 2 tenths up on his lap time, like 1/4 of a second. This might be enough to get higher in the top 10. Especially considering most of the drivers are in the pit. Also, the gap between Mikkels and Mills is just 2 milliseconds. So that's interesting. Aaron is now going through Alberto or Parabolica, however you named it. I prefer Parabolica. He's crossing the line. He improves himself by nearly half a second and puts himself into 5th. That's close to top tier drivers who are actually fighting for the championship. Apart from Cameron, because he's a reserve. Also, very nice major cut, Aryan. You're definitely getting a penalty point for that, and I'm reporting you with a certainty because I've seen that very well, and I don't care you have no fuel. Should have put a little bit more into the tank. As Tony Ricci is now starting his lap, how about Evan? He's a couple of seconds behind. Aryan causing the yellow flags. Mikkelsen out on track. Pavlakovic still in pits. Perks on the outlap. Robertson goes P12. As we've got yellow flags in Sector 1. Or actually Sector 2 it is. And Sector 1. There is some mess into the first chicane. 5 minutes to go in the qualifying, by the way, as Tom Maurer is warming up his tires, so maybe we'll watch Tony Ricci, who's invalidated, and that's a big warning sign when it comes to the pole position battle. Remember that Tony has got absolutely no pole positions before this race, and he spins round. Thankfully staying on track, not any damage. Now letting the other Red Bull by, and that's Evan, who's now chasing down Tom Maurer's lap time. Drake Dempsey, who unfortunately isn't racing today, has said in the chat that, in the paddock, that you should go for the mid-18s. We know what that is, the esports space. But can we get into 18th? We do. Evan Curtin goes 18.9 and goes onto pole position. At the moment, at least. And Hennen is meanwhile looking at the back, warming up his tires, saying that's a top life for Jan Tuovila, who's just going slow. Not losing too much though, Jan is. The Fen and the Aston Martin, we've seen that last season with two Caracola actually winning the championship. Jan is just PC F3 reserve, has been taken from the paddock. As Tom Meyer goes into the pits, I've also seen Borlini going 5th fastest with 19.4. 19.494 if I was exact. Has got less than 3 minutes to go in this qualifying. So we're very close from having a time up. Crocs currently in the 7th place, also missed his lap. By the way, I'm voting on Tony to win. No? Looking at the pole, yellow flags in sector 2. That is just Crocs letting past all of the drivers. Pawlakovic and Harvey, both Williams drivers, are on the outlaps as well. Because, well, we take care of the drivers' standings, but nobody actually mentions the constructors. And these are very interesting as well, because as you know, as you might assume, Red Bulls are far away from the rest. Not from the rest. It's actually Red Bull, a ton of dust, and then the rest. So, speaking of which, Red Bulls are the only team to have over 200 points. They are also the only team to have 150 points, and also the only team to have over 100 points. Because Red Bull has 203, then on the 2nd place we've got Ferrari with 76, and Williams with 60, Mercedes 56, but they are mostly dragged by Tom Meurer, 48 for AlphaTauri. The rest, I don't think that counts into the 2nd place battle. Williams is also dragged mostly by Quill. Alfie Harvey has got a point for the fastest lap in Austria and was very happy about it, to say the least. As Crocs is out of session, he retired in the pit lane and will not make any more laps. And disqualifying. And the top 3 is, as usual, Curtin, Maurer, Richa. We could probably see that back in 2024. That's another major cut. That's another major cut from Erwin. Congratulations, you would still have time. But speaking of which, remember 2020 Formula 1 season? We could mostly see Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas as the top 3. Now we're having car swap, and it's 2 Red Bulls that are 1st and 3rd, and Power is trying to be 2nd around there. As Tom is now starting his final run in the qualifying, Erwin Curtin is rushing to cross the line before the time is up. How about Tony Richard? He's 10th up on his lap time. Richard, the championship leader, also the race winner of last season's one of the races. I'm not sure which one, but he proved the pace in Season 7, getting a guaranteed seat for Season 8. Still did the trials in Saudi Arabia and Britain. Apart from that, I looked at these times that they were very quick. I didn't care because he got the guaranteed seat anyway. But Tony Richard is about to cross the line, and we'll see if he can get into pole position. It's very close. It's 7 milliseconds of improvement. He actually... Wait a second. He actually is going to be 10 milliseconds behind Tom Moyer, who is currently improving by nearly 0.2 of a second. On the final run of the qualifying, Cameron Dowds and Albert Carver have retired. Now it's... oh, that's a heavy crash. from the Williams driver. But speaking of Tom, who is about to cross the line now, he's now going through Parabolica hairpin. And can he take the pole position of the Italian Grand Prix? I was about to say Bahrain, but Tom crosses the line, gets pole by 19 milliseconds. It's not the end though, because Irvin is improving his lap as well. Might be going for pole position as well. Who is going to get that point? It's going to be Irvin with 18.7. And that's over 2 tenths ahead of... No, it's 1.5 tenths ahead of Tom Murray. Great qualifying from Paolo Borlini on his homeland as well, as he finishes 5th. Separate the Ferraris, Stouts and Bilbas. And speaking of which, that's the end of the qualifying session. So if I leave you for a second, that would be cool, if I was honest. Because, well, there's some higher matters going on. However, most of you have decided that Cameron will win. So yeah, I'm leaving you with this fun fact. I'll be back in a second. So you could see the qualifying standings whilst I wasn't here. Right before the race, because remember there is no formation lap. I advise you to click the like button and to subscribe to the channel. Every single support matters. By the way, the monetization is on the channel finally after 3 years of grinding and more to be done. However, it's not the time for this because we're about to start the pinnacle of tracks, in my opinion. The Italian Grand Prix is about to begin in European Racing Organization's PC F1 tier. It's going to be lights out and away we go, and looks like Curtin is having a pretty good start on Tom Murray. Is going to take the lead. Red Bull of Tony Ricci is going to be behind the Mercedes. It stays around the same, although stalemate a bit, as we've got Borlini trying to make a move on a couple of drivers already. And he is about to fight for the 2nd place. He's on the 3rd at the moment, fighting Tony Ricci side by side. He's ahead of Tony Ricci. The Ferraris also wheel-to-wheel into the Grande Chicane, Grande Corner, and Arian Bilbas has to yield the position on his teammate Cameron Dowds. Tony Ricci fights Borlini for the position number 3, but the Alpine driver does a very good job to keep the place. Tony Ricci fights no Dowds wheel-to-wheel, has to defend and keeps the place. So that was the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Evan Curtin pulls away from the rest of the grid. And we've got Borlini, Ricci, Dowds, Bilbas, Mikkels, and I think Luke Mills as well, fighting for position number 3. The rest of the grid is far behind. Thankfully, I didn't see any carnage into any of the corners. They kept it clean, drivers. As we've got Evan Curtin peacefully leading the way. Tom Murray also gets away from the rest of the field. So maybe let's go for the battle for the 3rd place, where Tony Ricci struggles to get the Alpine driver Alpine having plenty of bad luck this season, despite decent qualifying pace from both Hairusi and Burlini. They've got a couple of points finishes. Highest place was 5th from Hairusi in Miami. This time Tony Richa makes a successful move on Burlini, who's going to fight back, but stays behind the Red Bull. That's a pretty big bit of excitement, as it's now Cameron Doubts fighting Burlini for position number 4. Maybe we'll watch it from Bilbas's perspective, as Doubts stays behind the Italian. Maybe he'll make a move on the inside into the De La Roggia chicane, and he completes it. He's side by side with the Alpine, and they make contact. This allows Bilbas to go through Doubts, and will he go through Burlini as well? It's also Mikkelsen involved wheel-to-wheel, as we've got two wheel-to-wheel battles into the Lesmo. Burlini keeps himself on 3rd. Bilbas, oh, there's a big wing damage from Cameron Doubts, so there must have been contact from one of the drivers. Tuovila's already out of the session on the 2nd Lesmo, and will he bring out he brings out the virtual safety car. And this is a big chance for Doubts. He's got contact with someone, I believe that was Mikkelsen. Bilbas tried to make a move. I don't think it was anyone's fault, to be honest, at least as far as I could see. Tuovila is already out of the session. Will any of the drivers go to the pits, as most of these are on hard tires? This definitely complicates Doubt's tire strategy. Is he going to stay on track? No, definitely Mikkelsen is going to pits. How about Cameron? Cameron is in the pits as well. The runner-up of last year's PS F1 season. He probably remembers races like Brazil or United States. Last season, which was involved in plenty of action. Maybe not incidents, but definitely action. I remember, for example, Djogo Moraes spinning around in the final laps, or the Aston Martin's famous collision, which is no one's fault. Apparently, it was both Aston's fault, because never fight your teammate and stuff. Cameron Doubts is now going to make a recovery drive. He's got cleaner, and we'll see if he can accomplish a couple of points for Ferrari. Jonathan Foskus, unfortunately not racing today, but probably will be back next week, has said that he desperately called the Ferrari board to get Cameron, who was initially announced to be a Haas driver for today's race. But Jonathan directly made an intervention in Ferrari paddock, told Binotto, said, bring Doubts in if I'm not racing at least. At least this will be vital for the 2nd place on the Constructors Championship. And so he is here, Cameron Doubts, on the medium tires. I assume he might be going to hards at any point. Tom Miller takes the lead on Evan Curtin. In the meantime, Will Pawlakovic makes the fastest lap of the race and is about to join the pack. He has no wing damage, even though he was last, losing a couple of seconds to the rest of the field. Tony Richa is already losing over a second to these two. Now it's still Tony as the championship leader. Mikkelsen goes to the pits already for the 2nd time, so I don't know what happened there. Maras for a bit on the gravel, but hasn't ended up with major consequences. That is already 10. He is going to definitely chase down Will Pawlakovic. That's like pace difference. As we've also got potential for another double points for AlphaTauri. Remember, Owen Heinen scored points for the first time this season in Bahrain last week with 7th place at late dive on Quill on lap 24. That was a great overtake, very risky, very bold. Now he's gone to the gravel, spins round, so I jinxed it. At the same time, Tom Maurer has been overtaken by Evan Curtin onto the Parabolica, and Tom does not have DRS, so this might open up a chance for Tony Richa to close in the Mercedes driver and go for another Red Bulls 1-2. Could say that Doubts has already regained 6 seconds, but it's not the case, as we've got Fraser Robertson spinning ground and Ascari Kane as well. Owen is already into the pit lane. He tends to retire whenever things don't go his way, but I would say that this is the best chance to score most points. Because, you know, Singapore Grand Prix probably was into plenty of drivers' schedule, and this is why we're having only 15 on the grid today. As we don't have attendance issues because we've got 5 reserves PC F1, but we can still get 15 drivers. You can just call the drivers from the lower tiers. This is why you don't make simultaneous races. Meanwhile, as we are in Monza and nothing happens, we can also talk about Season 9. Like, I cannot say too much at the moment, as Tomar definitely goes wide on that one. But I can tell for a fact that there is a consideration. It's not confirmed, but it's consideration of having crossplay in Season 9. There's also considerations for today's PSF1 Italian Grand Prix, which will be commentated by another Cameron, but his last name is Don. Great 16-year-old commentator, very young, very talented, and, well, promising career ahead of him when it comes to commentary. Speaking of crossplay, it was about to be turned on for today's race, as Tomer is very close to Evan Curtin, but unfortunately, still doesn't work. We're testing it out in PCF4, the lowest PC tier, but with 2 Xbox drivers, but it's really working. I'm not sure, as Tom is very close to Evan. I was thinking he's about to make a move on the inside into the Ascari, just like the former Mercedes driver in PSF1, Drake Dempsey, has done on the final lap of the Italian Grand Prix. On, you know, I guess the 3-second time penalty. On Commentator, there's a spin! There's a huge crash from Berlini, who's called out a full safety car. So he's saved, because remember, he can go to the pits. He will definitely lose less time than under normal racing conditions, which will mean he may just lose a place to Cameron. Bilbas goes to the pits, uses that occasion. I assume most of the drivers will stay out anyways, because nearly all of them are on hot. As we've got Berlini changing his wing, Bilbas peacefully pitting. So that's a normal strategy. Doubts is using this safety car to pit as well. So we're having a couple of plot twists. Also, very, very nice Shell advertisement around here. This safety car might be a game changer. I mean, at least for those who had to pit. Fraser Robertson did not pit. Alfie Harvey did not pit, so Cameron Doubts stays ahead of Owen. The Alpha Tauri driver. Meanwhile, the top 3 is... If it was normal race conditions, I would assume they might lap. They might have lapped 1 or 2 drivers if there was no safety car during this race. But is any of these going to pit? They have the chance. Evan uses it to pit. And Tom Maurer is going to stay on the track, as Tony Richard does, and will take the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. Remember that Evan is pole sitter for today's Grand Prix. He's already getting that championship point. However, we have to know that he also has to finish the race in order to claim it. Arjan Bilba, well, safety Bernd. I know you are here to bring the cars, only to bring the cars back to the queue, but you don't have to go over these curbs. They'll make you jump. We also stayed out as Wojciech Crocs, and that's very interesting, because I assume Irvin will try to go for a move to turn 1 as soon as possible on him. Also stayed out. Harvey, Robertson, and that's about it. The rest of the drivers definitely have gone to the pits. Maybe let's check out this way. Yep, this way. As we'll go through stops, you can see only top 3 has not gone to the pits. and we want to hide this. There we go. Peacefully driving under the safety car conditions, and this means maybe championship calculations. Tom Maurer is getting far from away from the rest of the drivers fighting for third place, but that's about it. Edson just slightly extends his lead, but he has to go to the pit. Same as Tom, but the strategy might... Oh! Tom is going to the pit actually! Same as Wojciech Crocs, who is also getting a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit line. That is very interesting to see. Tony goes for the mediums. Apologies if I will keep messing around. Tom and Tony. These are very similar names. Wojciech Crocs, let's see what tires he has got. Also mediums. Nobody is on the soft. Nobody started on the soft. Soft were only used in qualifying. Also, they are useless apparently when it comes to the race, unless it's the final lap and you have to make a move into turn 5 in Abu Dhabi. Anyway, thankfully that rule of mandatory tire usage for the drivers who qualified into top 10 is gone. I mean, thankfully, because it can play a part. The strategies can finally be normal. Was fun though, but not in league races, especially in F1 2021, where you actually only had to go from mediums to softs or from softs to mediums, and that was the only thing you could do because they were lasting infinite times. However, I'm not sure about Tony Ricci and Wojciech Crocs' strategy. Tony could have double stacked and he wouldn't lose as many places as he does now. Now has to fight back. Now has to rely on Tom Maurer. Because as I said in the race day preview, this will last until the first collision. And then there definitely be a bit more distance. We're not having safety car in this lap because Padraig Odogale has still not reached the grid. Summer is getting very close to the safety car. We've seen a couple of examples of drivers in lower tiers, of course, that got disqualified due to overtaking Bernd Mainlander. One of the examples are Hauke Melling, as far as I'm aware, and definitely Karl Kloppa. And Austrian Grand Prix in PC F1 tier. Both got disqualified for trying to overtake the safety car, thinking they're unlapping themselves. Alright, it was Morten Schulze. Yeah, it was Morten and Karl who tried to overtake Bernd Mainlander and got disqualified from that. Because overtaking is like lava, you just don't do it. Just don't step on it. Otherwise you'll meet harsh consequences. And you don't want to experience them. Whilst we're still under safety car conditions and nothing happens unless, Tom, if you keep warming these tires so hard, you might spin at any point. And I've seen a couple of examples of those. One of them being Ogiński in PS F1 Season 7 Brazilian Grand Prix. But you can see some interesting details around here, because you can see that these are not Aramcos, no Cryptocoms, no DHL stuff on the sponsor banners. I actually designed them. It was a very simple design, apart from the one on the left we're having Automobile Club d'Italia. I left it because it's local sponsor and we'll leave local sponsors be. But, well, they will not happen. They will not appear definitely in Emilia-Romagna and Saudi Arabia, but I do plan them for a couple of more races. Maybe France, Abu Dhabi and Japan, of course. But for now, let's leave it, because we're having a restart of the Italian Grand Prix. Tom Maurer, now you can warm up the tires harshly, because hards are very hard to warm up. As Bernd Mainlander is about to go to the pit, the drivers are stacking up. They are very close to each other. You can see the gaps. Well, it's not measured properly because, you know, these are the safety car conditions. We're not on the full pace. Imagine if this was the proper race conditions and we're going like this. However, Tom Maurer is about to start, or actually restart, the Italian Grand Prix. It's a beautiful sunny weather here in Monza. Ferrari drivers are hoping for Dowds and Bilbas to at least step on the podium. Tom Maurer will start now, And is he going to keep his first position ahead of Evan Curtin? Evan Curtin might even lose a place to Arjan Bilbas, who's currently going side by side with the Frenchman for position number 2. We'll see if Evan will try to make a lunge into the inside. Not quite. And Arjan is forcing him long way around. Side by side still. Luke Mills is watching the fight. Arjan stays second. He's now ahead of Ervan on the outside, on the ground corner. And will he make a move into the La Roja? They are now will-to-will still for another complex of corners. Bilbas has to yield, slightly go into the curb. Luke Mills will try to make a move on the Ferrari. Not quite yet. And it's Arjan Bilbas who will stay third. Evan will stay second. Tom Maurer has to be very happy with that, because Arjan definitely put some trouble into the Red Bull, who not only who maybe has the medium tires and maybe faster on those first couple of laps, but will have to care about them so much, because remember, you can get a puncture very early. As we can see, a Red Bull of Tony Richer already being promoted by a couple of places, fighting Crocs this time not to lose a place. Crocs is very close from... Okay, actually touched the grass there a little bit. Tony Richer will now try to make a move on Berlini. Dowds is watching it. Now he's using all of his power to get Wojciech Crocs for position number 8. And that will be very vital for the Ferrari driver to keep behind Tony at least. Be very close. He's very happy to have this racer under the safety... to be under the safety car for a couple of laps. Crocs is fighting will to will. Cameron Dowds, who's now short shifting into the 4th gear. Now they will be side by side. Semes ahead. Berlini and Richer. They're will to will. Crocs may be on the medium tires. He's now faster because of the tire compound. But Dowds will try to make a move on the inside to the De La Roggia chicane. He's braking a bit late. Remember, both of the drivers are not using the line assist. Unlike Max Verstappen in Singapore Grand Prix, when we could see him behind Lando Norris. Dowds has to yield. Robertson is watching it. But speaking of which, well, Cameron has burned a lot of energy. You can recover a lot of it as well in Monza, because you can regain even 15 to 20% per lap if you're not using ERS. This is the track where you mostly gain it through going through chicanes, the first and the second. As this shouldn't be as much of an issue, like for example in Zandvoort, where we are not racing unfortunately this season. Maybe in season 9, we'll see. The calendar is still yet to be set up. Definitely I can say that we consider shortening the recruitment process from trial qualifying and trials on 2 different tracks to trial qualifying and trial sprint still on 2 different tracks. It's still like 10 laps of savings. As we've got Luke Mills very close to Arjan Bilbas. You can see the fight for the third is getting intense. As we've got yellow flags, that's Mikkelsen spinning around, losing a couple of places. So maybe we'll go back to the fight for position number 4. Or actually even 3, because Luke Mills is just quarter a second behind Arjan. As we're going through the Lesmo corners, Tony Richer is now having DRS on Luke Mills, as we've got DRS enabled on this lap. Evan Curtin will also get closer and closer to Ton. But it's not enough for the Red Bull to make an overtake. How about the second Red Bull? Actually, his junior team. AlphaTauri is getting closer to overtake the Ferrari rather than the Red Bull overtaking AlphaTauri. We'll see if we'll have the European elements of no fighting. Just like Pierre Gasly had no fighting with Max Verstappen back in 2021 certain countries Grand Prix. As we've got another yellow flag, that's Alfie Harvey this time. Losing places after Ascari chicane, where he got a heavy crash after it in qualifying. However, Evan Curtin is now completing a move on Tom Maurer. And now the case for him is to save these tires. Because if you pit on lap 7, you're definitely adding a couple of percent, or actually loads of percent of tire wear to your tires. So he'll definitely have to manage them. 20 laps to save those tires, to survive on the same compound. Tom Maurer still has to go to the pit, but at least tire management is not an issue for the Mercedes driver. Looking at the back, Arjan Bilbas just keeps the train going. Ferrari fans are cheering because he might get the 2nd place here. And also for Cameron Dodds, who's actually stuck behind Crocs. they are on medium tires still, so this might also play a part. As Doubts is already losing over a second. He's out of DRS, as you can see. Crocs is following Burlini. Not going for best result of the season, as he is out of the top 10 of the championship. Or Heinen gets another 3-second time penalty. He's the only driver to get penalties in this race. At least for now. Will Tom Maurer try to make a move on Irvin? This is now the question as well. He's definitely having DRS. He's using ERS. He's having way less ERS than Irvin. He will get closer. But closer is getting Tony Richer to Luke Mills, who's overtaking and going back into the racing line even before reaching turn 1, Tony Richer. Now he's about to fight Arjan Bilbas. Now this is something we've seen in Bahrain. Arjan Bilbas taking the lead. And on the safety car restart, now he's going to defend his 3rd place, which also may play a part in the 3rd place championship fight, as Arjan has got 55 points and he's only a point ahead of Tom Maurer, and then 45 points has Kul Pavlakovic, 42 Luke Mills. These are the 4 drivers to watch for the 3rd place. As now it's Tony Richer using DRS. Not using ERS though, and he might stay behind Bilbas for another lap. He's even lifting the throttle in order to stay within the DRS of Arjan. So he's waiting for him on the main straight. Arjan Bilbas with track extension. This might be a warning from the Codemasters stewards, or it has been not, because we know how glitchy these track limits can be. However, Tommy Richer, now he's going to use all of the power probably. Well, yeah, he is. He is using the DRS. He's going to the left side and he's overtaking clearly ahead of Arjan Bilbas way before into turn 1. Now, can any of the drivers behind him get involved in the fight? Definitely can name that Cameron Dowds is back into the battle. He's got the potential to fight for 5th, to be honest. As this is his first PC F1 race. He's debuting in this particular tier. We've seen him in PS F1 fighting for the championship. Unfortunately, well, it's some kind of a bad luck. Maybe some magic happened behind it, but another driver to leave the championship fight early, giving Diogo Moraes the title on the final race. Well, Diogo only had to win it to get it, and he did so. He did just that, dominating the entire competition. Cruxes are probably using Burlini's struggles into Ascari, as we can see how close the McLaren is to Alpine. As always, I'm also messing around my keyboard buttons, but this isn't really a thing, as Crux is going for a move on Burlini into 1st chicane. Also, Tom Maurer has gone to the pits, and I definitely missed that. He's now going to attack from the last place, essentially. Yeah, now definitely from the last place. How many positions can he regain during this race? And I wonder, what about the tires from the rest of the field? Maybe let's see how old are the tires. I cannot check that currently on the HUD yet, but we can check it this way, where we can clearly see Evan Curtin 9 laps old mediums, Richer 8, Arjan 10. They are going to be 19-20 laps old, so if anyone has got to experience these kind of tires at Monza, then let us know in the chat how it did finish. Did you survive on these 20 laps old mediums? Also leave a like, whilst nothing happened to the track at the moment. We're having also Mikkelsen may get another point into the championship standings. We've got 10 laps to go. We'll follow the battle between these two. I'm also wondering what kind of setups the drivers have put on. There are definitely low downforce, because Monza is low downforce track. But was it? But my question is, did any of these drivers put 0-0 wing? I definitely do. Whenever I hop into the game and actually race. As Crocs is about to make a move on Berlini into P6. Can he complete the move? He's cutting on the inside. He's been a bit forced wide by Berlini. Now Berlini has to settle for position number 7 or no. He's definitely going for position number 7 because, well, he lost the place. Great overtake from the pole. Was now chasing down Quill Pavlakovic. Remember the charge that Quill had on Crocs? Well, maybe not now because Berlini is trying to overtake Crocs. That was very close between these two drivers. Now, can they keep it clean? Definitely, but Berlini got a 3-second time penalty. He paid for it. But very close. Still kept clean. Very nice. That's all I can say. Meanwhile, Luke Mills, because we can see this DRS train behind Bilbas a bit falling apart, considering Crocs being over a second behind Quill Pavlakovic. Now Luke Mills will not waste time, and will be podium full of Red Bull powered teams, Red Bull powertrains powered teams. As Luke Mills makes a move on Arjan Bilbas. Oh, there's a huge crash from Crocs on the main straight. That calls out the safety car. I don't know what happened there. I assume Paolo might have tapped his rear wing. That hurt. That massively hurt. Full safety car is called out. Now I'm wondering, well, Curtin has his dive safe. Honrich is very close, you can see, he's nearly side by side. With Ervan. I'm kinda distracted with Crocs' reaction, because, wow. As Richard goes to the pits for soft tires. Luke Mills, Arjan Bilbas, Quill Pavlakovic also going to the pits. Paolo Berlini, Cameron Dowd. How about Fraser Robertson? Are you going to the pits as well? Yes, he does. And we'll see a big mix around the pack. Evan Curtin probably decides to stay on track. Nearly everyone is going to the pits. Everyone is going to... No! Everyone apart from Curtin and Maurer is going to the pits. So, well. It's a very, very sticky situation as Tondriuche goes onto soft tires. Look, Mills. Like, if there's a driver who didn't go to soft tires, I'll be surprised. But a couple of more drivers are still on pit exit. Sugar has gone for mediums. Are you serious? You're having a chance to get some big points and you're choosing mediums on the final laps of the race. Great. As well, if I left you for a second, well, because I have to... Well, outside the roleplay element, outside keeping it professional now from the casual stuff, it's dark. And I gotta turn the lights on. Also, well, since I'm back, that literally took me a couple of seconds. As far as I'm following it, the PSF1 grid is going to have 6, 8, 10, 12. We still have full safety car conditions. 18 drivers on the grid will be in PSF1. Faustus Nauseda, unreported absence. Congratulations for getting one. Unless you've written it on absence reasonings. No. Because it's a safety car, I'm literally following how it's going on the other tiers. There might be some issues from Le Penrose's side though. Wish I would commentate PS F1 as well, because it's actually fun to do commentary stuff. But, well, crossplay is crossplay. It doesn't work. I mean, it does. PCF4. And PCF4 says, apart from one of the drivers, Claudio, they say they are satisfied with it. I mean, it maybe has a negative look due to safety car deltas that have gone wild during PSF1 British Grand Prix. Safety car stays out for one more lap. Am I right? No, I'm not right. We are back to racing. Sorry for not paying attention to that one, as we're about to start once again in this Italian Grand Prix. We've got second safety car, and I hope it will be the last one. Duga gets a 5-second aperitif collision with Mikkelsen now, as we'll see. Can Cameron Doubts regain a couple of places? Can the medium runners keep their places as well? As Erwin Curtin this time is leading the restart. And Tom Maurer, despite pitting and dropping to last place, is now into second. Now it all depends on the Red Bulls how it will go, as Erwin has not started yet. Now he's starting, and we've got a big pile up. No, not maybe a crash, but it's a free wide into turn 1 behind Erwin Curtin. Luke Mills might go for the second place in this race. He's definitely ahead of Maurer. Can he take the second as well? He's side by side with the senior Red Bull team. Now he's making contact with Tony, and they make bigger contact. That loses Tony a couple of places. As you can see, basically an 8 wide into the Grand Chicane. And it's going to be Bilbas also trying to make a move on Maurer. For position number 4, he's also making a move on Mills. And he's been spun around by Berlin as well. There's also an Alpha Tauri going wide. That's Owen Heinen. There's an incident between Bilbas and Berlin as well. Double disaster for Tifosi, because it's not only the Italian driver spinning, but it's also the Ferrari driver spinning. Watching Cameron Doubts now, because he's now the one to watch in this Italian Grand Prix. Can he make a move on both Richard and Maurer? Richard has lost a couple of places. We've seen look-alike 2021 Verstappen Hamilton in the Italian Grand Prix between Richard and Wills. Thankfully, both of the drivers are still going. Just lost a couple of places, Tony. Head to Lucas on the second place. Quil Pavlakovic has used all of these situations and all the mess to get into the fight for direct victory in today's race. So we'll see. We're now going to the second lap after the restart. Tony Richard will definitely think of a move on Tom Maurer at this point. And will he complete it? He's definitely using all of his ERS. Save a place to Tom. And is he going down the inside? He knows he's on the mediums. Tom Maurer and Tony Richard will go for the move around the outside. This time it's definitely cleaner. It's clean. Well, knowing last year's experiences, we could expect the other thing. Bilbas is out of the session, calling out another safety car. Berlini's into the pits as well. And I believe this was not Berlini's first incident of the race. How many penalty points does he have? I mean, there were qualifying bans at different tiers. Even Mikael Korhonen, the PS F2 steward, uses qualifying bans instead of time penalties whenever a driver did not finish the race, as a simulation of grid penalties. Should be better now, the mic quality. But speaking of which, let me see. PC F1. Who has most penalty points? Ducro 10, Koginski 12, Berlini 6. Berlin has 6 penalty points. After this race, he might get a lot more. Because he was involved in an incident with Bilbas. Now we're having him involved in an incident with Ilya, sorry, with Crocs. And yeah. We're still having another safety car. This is a great opportunity for me to close the pole. Just one imported absence of Faustus Neuseda. Congratulations. As going to the standing, we have to also mention that Steinavis and Lex Code will not race today as well. I mean, Steen is on DNS, Faustus is on unreported absence, and Lex is on just not racing. We also have Linus Schulze debuting in F1 this season. Long lasted, but it happens. I'm also wondering over going back to the race of PC F1, because you probably came here for the PC F1 race, not talk about PS F1, which starts half an hour. We can do it during the safety car though. As essentially there should be nothing happening during the SC. The drivers definitely to watch are Will Pawlakovic. I mean, every time I see him fighting for the victory, I smile because I know he can do charges from the back of the field. Since he came back in Austria, 4th place by the way, he's got also 2nd in the sprint. In Australia, charge from like 9th to 2nd. I actually made a video out of it, which you can watch after today's race. Also, I remember he started at the back of the grid in Bahrain and got into P6. 2 races short, but he is fighting for 3rd place in the championship, like full on. And he might be the first one to win a race and not be a Red Bull. Else we got... Is it actually going to be 2 laps of racing? It is. Oh my goodness. I didn't expect that to happen. Cameron Dowds, remember his charge back in Brazil, PSF1, where he got promoted by like 6 places doing 4 laps. Now he's having a chance to prove it again. He only has to overtake Moira and then it will be easy. We also may have more drivers crossing the line, having potential to win. However, Richard, don't abuse these curbs, unless you're having 60 FPS a glitch. But as far as I heard, we're not as broken. Sorry, we're not as fixed, as they said. As declared. However, we are having 2 final laps of racing. Here in Italy. Well, my favorite track, personally, to commentate on. To race at is Silverstone. And Austria. Red Bull Ring. Safety car is in this lap. You can see the green light. So maybe Monza, prove it once again. As Evan Curtin on the medium tires. We'll have to watch out for Will Pawlakovic. Because it's going to be much closer now than it was in Australia. And it's not only Quill, it's also Luke, Tony, Tom, Cameron. Maybe you also count Jakob into this? Possibly. Evan Curtin is warming up his tires for the final lap because there will be no more safety cars in this race. It's the game mechanism. Now it is time for the final 2 laps of racing here at Monza. Evan Curtin leads the way, still hasn't accelerated, still hasn't started to push. Now he is going to make it. No, he's waiting for the line to appear and he's lights out and away we go, we could say. If it was the actual start, Tony Rich is making double move again. We're having another free. We're having essentially a 10 wide into turn 1. This is very, very close. Will everyone survive? No, there's a 3 wide. 3 into 1 corner. Does not go. That doesn't work. Will Pawlakovic is losing a couple of places. There's an incident in the back between Harvey Robertson and Mikkelsen. They've already eliminated themselves out of the battle for the victory. Evan Curtin leads the way. Tony Ricci is now 2nd. So we're not having probably another driver than from the Red Bull to win this race. No, can Luke Mills keep the 3rd place? He's having Tom Mayer, but Tom is on medium tires right behind him. So this might play a part as well. As Ervan is leading the way, the back of the field has essentially eliminated themselves. We'll see if they will survive 2 more laps. As it will be Tom Mayer close Closer to Luke Mills, not close to even think of a move though. Maybe on the next lap, definitely not after Ascari. As Quill is out of the race as well, nearly throwing Owen as out of it too. As Alfie Harvey is going to be the only points finisher for Williams this race. Definitely he's finishing the points. We've got 10 drivers running at Monza. Also got Dugai fighting Heinen for position number 7. There's nothing happening for the position number 1, so we'll go for to the midfield. Dugai will think of a move around the outside. Owen, this is now or never for him. Owen blocks the inside pretty well. Great defending from the AlphaTauri driver. Remember, he also has 6 seconds worth of time penalties. Jakob Mikkelsen, are you actually having wing damage? This is now the question. He is not having wing damage. So this is very helpful for the Mercedes driver to catch up and possibly go into position number 6. After the line, Luke Mills has lost the place to Tom Murray. This is a change for the podium places. Tom Murray is back on it into top 3 and is extending his 3rd place lead at the championship, even though he's got a little bit of a slide. This might open up a chance for Luke Mills or Cameron Dowds to get into 3rd. Cameron Dowds with a decent performance, even though we expected more from him, if I was honest completely. But can he go for 4th? At the final corner of this race, Tom Richa is not going to win. You can see how far he is. But Cameron may think of a move on Luke Mills into the final corner of this race, into the Alboreto corner. No, Luke Mills is side by side. He's losing a place to a Ferrari on the final corner of the Grand Prix. Evan Curtin takes the victory ahead of Tony Ritchie, Tom Maurer, Cameron Dowds. Now we're having Owen and Padraig fighting side by side at the back. All done by Jakob Mikkelsen. Also, Luke Mills got a 5-second penalty for spinning at the pit line, and this also went to account. So Mikkelsen with the best result of the season, definitely helping out to say this, to get back into the fight for the 2nd. Unfortunate for Crocs and Tuovila and Burlini, Pavlakovic, Bilbas not to finish the race. And oh my, I enjoyed that one. Yes. Well, Evan Curtin wins for another time this season. Is now back into the championship lead. So we might also see plenty of plot twists. I think Tom Maurer will definitely not settle. Let's not sell that he will settle. He is also going for the championship. But I think he's going to stay 3rd. So even on the medium tires. Overtaking Mills. Also was overtaken by Dowds, by the way. Helped a bit into extending the lead. Cameron Dowds with a decent performance. Also fastest lap for the Ferrari. So there's something Ferrari fans may be happy about. 13 points for Ferrari this race. Also historical first point for Alfie Harvey. Actually the proper point for finishing in top 10 rather than getting a fastest lap. Enjoyable. We'll do a quick conference because I'm also jumping to PS F1 Singapore. Sorry. Erwin, Tony, and Tom. F1 conference. PC. So, I mean, watching this race, driver standards, I said about being very bad at league racing in general. I might also take into account until, I mean, apart from Dowd's incident, where he lost his front wing, it was pretty clean until Berlini Crocs crash. Now I can see that there was something wrong with the throttle being stuck on his, just like Leclerc in Austria, but this time it went a bit bigger, the issue. 2 minutes talk. If nobody joins, we'll be just ending the stream. Erwin is already there, so we'll be ending the stream a bit later. Here's the conference. Here is the winner of today's Grand Prix, Erwin Curtin, who, well, you're one of the 2 people to finish this race with just one stop, going from hards to mediums. The only one who did that as well was Tom Myrer, and definitely keeping all the drivers behind was a challenge. So what can you tell about this race?
What? Yeah. Can you repeat? I didn't listen.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it. Speaking of which, you're one of the two drivers not to pit more than once this race, only going from hards to mediums, and that was about it today. So if you have any comments about this race and keeping all of the drivers behind.
At the start, it was a mistake from me because I forgot to pit for a soft, but with some luck, I did a great job. It was so hard with the tire.
Yep, still a proper strategy because it made you the victor of today's race. Very close from Tony Riche, your teammate as well.
Again.
And can we officially say championship rival? Like, is this the proper championship fight?
Yes, yes. We are friends, so that's still respectful, but there is a fight for the championship.
Yup. Now the question is to Tony about actually the same. Are you agree? Do you agree with Irvin? You're here, of course.
For what?
Do you agree that is this a championship fight, respectful, friendly, between friends?
Oh yes, yeah.
No team orders?
No, but it's fair.
Yeah, fair.
How about today's race, though, from your perspective?
What?
From your perspective. Actually, you could double hear myself on the stream. But speaking of which, how about the race from your perspective?
The traffic was bad for me, but P2 is good, so I am happy to my race.
Yep. Well, your Constructors Championship lead is definitely getting bigger and bigger. 44 points today, because remember, Irvin got the point for pole position, takes back the championship lead as well. But speaking of Constructors...
For 1 point. He takes the lead for 1 point. So
I'm actually
too close.
I'm actually thinking you might retire, for example, after Saudi Arabia at round 8, both, and you would still win the Constructors. I'm essentially thinking this. I don't want this to happen, but I'm thinking like mathematically.
Yeah, we will see.
I tell you the lead as of now in the Constructors, because Mercedes got 25 and you've got 44. So it's plus 19 points, the gap. Also, Ferrari is getting 12. Yeah, your lead is around 150 points already.
Nice.
And we've got Tom as well, third place, despite being one of the two drivers, as I said, to have only one stop strategy. It is from hards to mediums. Can you tell us about the final laps, the fight with Doubts and Mills?
So the first safety car when Erwin boxed, I was pretty surprised because it was a real stretch. But then the further safety cars came out, and then the second to last safety car around lap 20, that was pretty good because I could catch up to the field and many boxed and rejoined behind me. And then that restart was absolute chaos. Like into the RNG chicane, a guy just dive bombed me, couldn't brake, took out Ferrari. I think it was Dowds. So I almost lost touch to Stella there. Kept in, and I think like the final safety car was really hurt me. Because I would have been pretty close. Wait, Erwin, how worn were your tires? Oh, he's left us. Oh, wait, has he left us or is Erwin still here?
You're the only one in the conference room at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like his tires were really worn and I could have gotten him, kind of like Miami. But then just battles by others. I mean, both safety car restarts were a bit dangerous. But yeah, I mean, on softs, think Luke Mills on the second to last safety car had an absolute flyer. 0-3 wide, and the goal was just to keep the wing on. Especially final 2 laps, I knew soft tire runners were just gonna full send. So P3 is a good finish. Quali wasn't ideal. P2 is P2, but Ascari was really bad. So it's again decent points. We talked about constructors before. I mean, that's anyway over. Real championship is probably also over for me. But we'll still just try and do well, I guess.
Yep.
I enjoyed that race because we had nice battles. There was a lot of action.
Essentially,
And
what I would
go on, sorry.
go on. I'll say my sentence later.
Well, I was I thought the second chicane would be worse, like screwing over people, which it did. It did screw over Erwin once or twice. But he had the gap, so that was good for me. Also, I don't know how at the start we managed to gap the cars behind us. It was important too. And then staying within Erwin's DRS was important, if no safe, like when he was on mediums. Before I made the pit stop, would have been important if there would be no safety cars. But I guess we move on to Imola.
Yep. I was actually about to ask you if there is any chance for the championship, by the way. But the restarts of today's race, I mean, it was essentially a 10 wide.
True. That was really like I was 3 wide ahead of me, 3 wide with me, 3 wide behind. It was really insane. Yeah, championship. I mean, Austria was on for it. Like Silverstone was my mistake with the safety car throttle limiter. In Miami, I had battles that kind of took me out of contention. Then what was it? Austria, the sprint race is spin, so I had to start on mediums in the main race from P8 to get back up to P2. So I had to go for that strategy to get anywhere near the front again. There, Erwin was unlucky with the glitch. Then we had Australia unlucky. Not really the most of luck, but it's fun because I definitely have the pace and I'm enjoying it. Unlike other leagues that don't manage to have the attendance or the driving standard. So big ups for you running this league. I'm really enjoying it. Second season here. Don't have a win yet, so I'll definitely try and get a win this season. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. Thanks for running the league.
And thanks for the kind words. Speaking of the championship, because you already said it's over, we have to finish it kinda quickly because, well, the SF1 is starting very soon.
Yeah.
But speaking of the fights, I'm saying to you, well, if there is crossplay, I can already say to the stream as well. PS F1 and PC F1, if there is crossplay, top 4 drivers without the line will get the guaranteed seats, so you will not have to do trials if you finish third. And
I mean trials are not an issue.
Yep. And if there is a no crossplay, because it will still be broken as a match, then we're just having top 8 having granted seats. And also, before we go, just fact checking you. I'll be honest with you. I just fact checked. You did win 2 races in season 6.
I did not win any races this season.
This season, right? But just saying, season 6, Bahrain and Spain.
Oh, season 6, yeah. That I know, but I was talking about this season.
Yep. Now to the viewers remaining on the stream. Thank you for the attendance on the stream as well, because it's 20 watching, 25. It's very nice. Would wish 200, but it is what it is now. We'll have more with the crossplay, of course, and maybe even later to the season. But thank you for watching. Remember to hit the like button and to subscribe. Join the PS F1, which starts in 6 minutes. Will be commentated by Cameron Dunn. I'll be watching it. And I'm excited for the Guil versus Raya King championship fight. What are your predictions, Tom? Guil or Raya?
Guil, because Merc family.
Yep. Okay, so that's it for PC F1 Italian Grand Prix. I'll be back with Tom as well next week into the Imola. Another Italian track. Goodbye.